Howdy folks, and welcome to Heliborne by Jetcat Games, a tiny independent developer. And when I say tiny, I really do mean it. Jetcat Games consists of 4 people, and one of them works on marketing. And so, yeah, very small development team, which is quite remarkable considering what they've actually managed to achieve with Heliborne. Now, I've been following the progress of this game for quite some time. It's been in development for well over a year and has been available on Steam in early access, but tomorrow, the 12th of October, the game's getting its official release. You can buy it on Steam, cheap as chips, £10.99, or whatever the equivalent of that is in your local currency. So what's Heliborne about? Well, it's very tempting to take the easy way out and say it's World of Tanks with helicopters, and while that's certainly true on one level, it doesn't really do the game justice. Oh, so you mean it's like World of Warplanes with helicopters? Well, no. Heliborne's actually pretty good, and also helicopters can do things that fixed-wing aircraft can't. They can hover, for one thing, and that opens up all kinds of interesting possibilities, because if you can take off and land in a field or on a mountaintop, you can deploy troops in places that a fixed-wing aircraft just wouldn't be able to do. And because you tend to operate so much closer to the ground in a helicopter than you do in a fixed-wing aircraft, you can use the terrain in ways that are just not practical in a fixed-wing aircraft either. So rather than just being a straight-up World of Tanks with helicopters game, Heliborne really does take the unique possibilities offered by helicopters and runs with it. At its heart, what Heliborne does is it offers you the opportunity to fly more than 40 different types of military combat aircraft from the 1950s all the way through to the present day. Anyone who's played a Wargaming.net product like World of Tanks, World of Warplanes, World of Warships will be instantly familiar with the progression system. You play a helicopter, you earn experience on that helicopter, you use that experience to unlock upgrades for the helicopter, and then research the next helicopter along in the tech tree. No big surprises here, it's what we're all used to. There's no sense in reinventing the wheel after all. What Heliborne does do differently, however, is that when you do go into battle, it's not just in one helicopter. You pick a squadron of 3, and there are 3 different types of helicopter available, each of them vitally important to success in the missions that you're going to undertake. Those 3 classes are Reconnaissance or Scout helicopters, Air Assault or Transport helicopters, and then your dedicated helicopter attack gunships. The temptation, of course, is going to be to jump straight into a gunship and then feast on the tears of your enemies, but it's not quite as straightforward as that. All 3 types of helicopters are very important, and they all have their place on the battlefield. And to illustrate exactly what I'm talking about, we're going to jump into a cooperative scenario set in the Gulf of Tonkin in Vietnam during the 1960s. I'm taking a Soviet helicopter squadron into this mission, and to begin with I've picked my Scout and Reconnaissance helicopter, the Mi-1MU. This is a tiny, very fast, very manoeuvrable and agile 2-seat Scout helicopter. You achieve victory in Heliborne by collecting victory points. If you have a look at the top of the screen, you'll see that the red team, that's me, in fact it's just me at the moment, nobody else has joined this mission, I require 12 victory points in order to win. Now, you earn those victory points in a number of different ways. You can complete objectives. You can see that 2 objectives have just popped up in the top right corner of the screen, also indicated by the red shaded areas on the map. Complete those objectives, I'll earn victory points. You can also get a supply of victory points coming in by capturing the various different fire bases and landing zones scattered around the map. However, I'm in a Scout helicopter. I only have 2 seats, I can't carry an infantry squad, so I'm not actually able to capture any of those fire bases or landing zones. For that, we're going to need an Air Assault helicopter. What I can do, however, because I'm in a Scout helicopter, is locate and destroy the enemy gunboats that were reported at this map reference. Oh, and we appear to have somebody else has just joined the team. Player 2 has just joined the match and is taken off on one of his own sorties. So let's deal with that pesky gunboat. Now, we're only using the 7.62mm machine gun, although we do have a very limited supply of heavy rockets. At this kind of range, though, we're extremely unlikely to hit that gunboat with them. So we're going to take them out with the machine guns. The rockets, however, are going to become useful the closer I get to the target and the faster I'm going. Oh, and I'm taking some hits. And bingo, we got him. Okay. First objective complete, first victory point earned. Another enemy gunboat up ahead. I don't think he's part of any of the existing objectives, but gunboats can be spawned for both your team and the enemy team from firebases that exist on the shoreline, and they'll just randomly sail around shooting at anything that they don't like the look of. Got a slightly more immediate problem, however, an enemy firebase chock full of troops and they're all shooting at me. Now, I cannot capture that firebase because I'm not carrying any infantry. I'm just in a scout helicopter, but I can neutralise the enemy troops in the firebase. And that will make life substantially easier for anybody in the team in an air assault helicopter who happens along and decides to capture firebase number 4 for themselves. So the troops there have been neutralised, but I'm taking a lot of fire from neighbouring enemy troops in firebase number 5, just around the corner of the island. So I've gotten the hell out of their line of fire, while a teammate, if you look at the map, can see is busy engaging enemy forces in firebase number 5. And while being very careful not to fly into this island over here, I'm going to see if I can finish off that gunboat. It's just a river patrol boat, put enough holes into it with a 7.62mm machine gun and it's eventually going to sink. Right, now that wasn't an objective, but I did earn experience for sinking it. And if you have a look at the extreme top right corner of the screen, above the list of objectives, you can see exactly how much experience that I've earned so far during this particular operation. It takes around about 30 experience to unlock a weapon loadout upgrade on a tier 1 aircraft. And so with 14 experience earned, I'm already almost halfway there. But now we're going to get to work on completing another objective. More patrol boats have been detected in this area. Work them over with machine guns. Unfortunately, I am out of rockets. Ooh, be very, very careful, by the way, when you're playing Heliborne, not to stray outside of the map. This is not like War Thunder, where you can fly outside the map border and you'll just be teleported back into battle facing the correct way. In Heliborne, it's fatal. And when you're in a scout helicopter on as low health as this, taking a hit from a 2-man RPG team in an enemy firebase doesn't do you any good either. So we're going to jump into an air assault helicopter. This is the Mi-4. It's a Soviet transport and utility helicopter that first saw service in 1952, although by 1975 was out of frontline service with just about everybody other than North Korea and Albania. Because it's an air assault helicopter, it has the capability of carrying a large number of troops. I can carry up to 16. These troops are going to be used for capturing and defending those landing zones and fire bases. I don't have to have 16 infantry, however. I can take any combination of infantry, 2-man surface-to-air missile teams, 2-man RPG teams, and 2-man mortar teams. The mix of troops that you have available on board your air assault helicopters are picked when you set up your squadron before you actually go into the mission. So I'm going to capture landing zone 2 for the team. Bit of a rough landing, but any landing that you can walk away from is a good one. Troops deployed, they're going to man all of the artillery and anti-aircraft defences scattered around this particular firebase. So I've captured firebase number 2. Now remember, I had 16 troops on board this aircraft. I've deployed 10 and firebase number 2 has been captured and is manned at 100% capacity. I can capture additional firebases, but I can only deploy 6 more troops, which will only be enough to bring another firebase up to 80% troop capacity. I could always just return to base and top off with more air cavalry troops, but for now there's an objective just ahead to locate and destroy enemy infantry in the marked area on that island. And now you're going to see exactly why scout aircraft are so important. I'm taking fire from, well, I don't know. I'm in an air assault helicopter. I can't see the infantry hidden under the jungle canopy. They can see me though. If I was in a scout aircraft, I'd be able to spot them, no problem whatsoever. But I'm not. I'm in an air assault helicopter, so I'm nothing more than a big fat juicy target for those enemy troops hidden in the jungle. Speaking of big fat juicy targets, enemy patrol boats. Target of opportunity? Why the hell not? Remember, this is a cooperative battle that you're actually watching today. You can hot join games in progress. I've been joined at the moment by another 2 players. There are now 3 on the team. In case you're wondering what the player versus player battles are like in Heliborne, well, they're a lot like what you're watching. They take place on the same maps, they have the same objectives appearing at random intervals. The difference, of course, is that as well as all of the objectives and the AI, you also have to worry about enemy players flying around in helicopters that are just as capable as your own. So you're getting shot at by guys in scout helicopters and helicopter gunships, and you've got guys in air assault helicopters dropping two-man surface-to-air missile launcher teams on every available mountaintop. Things can get very, very interesting very, very quickly. Anyway, we have another objective: destroy enemy positions at landing zone 1. It's the only landing zone that the enemy team actually hold at the moment. We've got 3 of the 5 available landing zones, and it looks like somebody in the team is going for a sneaky capture of number 4. Nope, he's flown right by it, and oh, straight into a mountain. Oh well, never mind. Happens to the best of us. Anyway, coming up on landing zone number 1. Now, it's held by the enemy, so all of those bunkers and sangars are going to be stocked full of enemy troops. I do, however, have some rocket pods. Now, the rockets aren't particularly big, but I've got a lot of them, so I'm basically just going to carpet bomb the entire landing zone with rockets and hope that silences the defensive positions. Here we go, we're going to pop up, they're going to spot me any second. I'm going to take a lot of incoming fire, but I can also put out a rather large amount of outgoing fire. And it looks like I'm going to live. Well, it was surprising, I have to admit. I wasn't expecting that to work. Right, well, objective complete. Enemy forces at landing zone 1 neutralised. I still have 6 troops on board, so I can at least capture the landing zone. Let's just put this thing down. I did take a fair old amount of damage, so I should probably, once I've done this, head back to base to resupply and possibly switch to another helicopter. Oh, it's another surprise. It turns out that the 6 troops that I had remaining on board were all that were required to actually reinforce this particular landing zone to 100%. So, hooray! Bonus! Totally planned that. Right. 4 objectives of 12 complete. We're going to have to start upping our game. There is another objective that's just popped up to the southwest. Landing zone 2 is under attack by enemy troops. Now, I still have a reasonable amount of ammunition, and while the airframe has taken a fair old amount of damage, even if I were to get shot down, don't think of it as being shot down, just think of it as the fastest way to get back to base and pick another helicopter. Now, I can't see any of the enemy troops attacking landing zone 2, because there are no scout aircraft, and they're hidden in the jungle canopy. But just because I can't see them doesn't mean they're not there, and I can just carpet the canopy with rockets. And that's probably taken some of them out. We've got the other 2 players on the team are also making their own attack runs on the fringes of the jungle around the firebase. But despite 2 other helicopters on the team both saturating the jungle around landing zone 2 with weapons fire, they still haven't managed to stop the attack on landing zone number 2, and I think the problem here is that we're all in air assault helicopters. Nobody's in a reconnaissance or a scout aircraft. And once again, I'm taking fire from an unknown location on the ground. I can see the tracer coming in, but I'm not actually able to identify any troops shooting at me. So I think I'm going to head back to base, and I'm going to switch to a reconnaissance helicopter and actually start spotting targets for the rest of my team to shoot at. This is the Kamov Ka-15. It's a light utility 2-seat helicopter. First flew in 1952 and was primarily used by Aeroflot, the Russian national airline, and the Soviet Navy. It's unusual in that it doesn't have a tail rotor to stop the aircraft from spinning around from the torque generated by the rotor blade whirring around at the top of the rotor mast, but it doesn't need one because instead of a tail rotor, it has 2 contra-rotating rotor blades, both operating in different directions and therefore cancelling out the torque generated by each other instead. Anyway, objective up ahead, and there's a guy on the team who's just gotten himself shot down by unspotted enemy troops, but that's what the scout helicopter is for. Fly over the combat zone, press the B key, get on the binoculars, and start spotting and identifying enemy troops. You see how the enemy positions in the jungle all got lit up and identified as I overflew them at low level in a scout helicopter, something that didn't happen when a teammate was flying over them and getting shot down by them earlier on in an air assault helicopter. And now, of course, with those positions all identified, the rest of the team can close in and help me finish them off. There is another teammate in an air assault helo on the far side of the landing zone, and he looks like he's in a bit of trouble over there. Now, he was flying a bit low. I don't think it's the guys on top of the landing zone up here who actually took him out, which might suggest that the enemy forces are on the beach on the far side of the LZ as well. Yep, there they are, spotted them, and of course that means they've spotted me too, and there's nothing else for them to shoot at, so we're not going to hang around, particularly since we have another scout and reconnaissance helo coming in at very, very low level, and while I've got their attention, he's going to be lighting them up. I don't think this area has been completely cleared yet, however. The LZ defences are down to 33%. And that fella below me is taking care of the opposition on the beach, but I think there's something still up here in the jungle canopy on top of the LZ itself. I can't actually see anything. Screw it. Binos out. Wait, yep, I'm getting shot at by something. Yep, there he is. Finish the little bugger off with the machine guns, and that should be LZ3 secure, and another objective complete. And yep, objective 7 of 12 complete. 7 down, 5 to go. Now, do you remember earlier I mentioned that straying beyond the limits of the map border is a very, very bad thing in Heliborne? It's not nice and gentle like War Thunder, where if you fly out of the map boundaries, the game simply teleports you back into the map facing in the correct direction. Now, the consequences of straying outside of the map border in Heliborne are a little more severe. Be particularly careful when you're doing attack runs on patrol boats that are stooging around the limit of the map border. And remember, just because your helicopter is pointing in one direction, that doesn't mean it's actually moving in that direction. These things do take time to turn around and change direction. And if you're about to run into the map border, that's time that you might not necessarily have. Well, anyway, my MI1 has been repaired and I'm able to use it again. I'll be able to jump back into the KA-15 later if I need it. For the moment, it's undergoing repairs. The 3 aircraft that you select to take into a mission are available throughout the entire course of that mission. You can get them shot down or crash into mountains or stray into the map border as many times as you like. You just have to endure one of them sitting out for a while it undergoes repairs. Meanwhile, more enemy forces reported massing for an assault on Firebase number 4. Now, we do have a friendly helicopter down there, but he can't see them because he's not in a reconnaissance helicopter unless he gets uncomfortably close, and he has been taking fire. So I zoom in low, whip the binoculars out, spot them, switch to rockets, take them out from above in one pass, and objective 11 of 12 is complete. Complete one further objective and victory will be ours, and right now I'm just loitering around really, just waiting for an objective to pop up. And as if by magic, there we go, down to the south, another patrol of gunboats. And there are 2 of us closing in with machine guns blazing, so this really shouldn't take too long. Although, judging by those splashes in the water ahead, it looks like the guy behind me is trying to hit them with rockets and missing by about half a kilometre. Anyway, let's break off early because I don't want to fly into the map border again. 1 gunboat remaining, sink this guy, and it's home in time for tea and medals. And there we go, victory. And that, boys and girls, is Heliborne by Jetcat Games. A tiny little 4-man development team. It's available on Steam as of tomorrow. It's actually been available on Steam for quite some time now, but in early access. It comes out of early access tomorrow and gets its full initial release on Steam. You can buy it for the very reasonable price of £10.99 of your finest English pence, or whatever the equivalent of that is in your local currency. Hopefully the game will be popular enough and sell well enough that Jetcat Games will be able to continue feeding their families and supporting and developing the game further. That, of course, is where you lot come in. All I can do is make you aware that the game's coming out, show you what it's like, and, well, from that point on, it's entirely up to you. And just to preempt the inevitable question in the comments, no, this is not a sponsored video. Jetcat Games have not paid me to do this video. Jetcat Games are a 4-man independent developer self-publishing their game on Steam. They can barely afford to keep the lights on. Let alone pay people to say nice things about their game on YouTube. I just like the game and I think it deserves to do well. So I'm just doing what I can to bring news of the game's release to a large audience. Hopefully enough of you guys will think the same and you'll have fun playing Heliborne. Or at the very least you had fun watching the video of Heliborne. And that's it for today. As always, take care and I'll catch you next time.